Hello, my trial tracking, esoterically inclined friends. I'm Kristen. Welcome to my channel. And we're here to take a look at the Karen Reed case. I have some channeled messages, and then we'll do some tarot and see if we can track some of the energies, how they were on the last court hearing, and what it might be moving forward this week with the hearing, which happens to be happening on a new moon eclipse in Pisces. So it feels like there's a lot of fortuitous, intense energies on that day, which would go very well with this case. It's been very intense. Pisces, very confusing. A lot of illusions, a lot of things that are hidden. But with Pisces, also very inspired energy. So I think there's that inspired energy from both the defense and the prosecution. They feel very inspired to really move forward. They each have something that they really want to say. I have some notes, and I channeled I had some things that keep coming through, and I saw certain tarot cards in my mind. So I'm going to go through some things that I wrote down when I was channeling, and then I'll show you the cards that I saw in my mind. So the first thing I kept hearing was match point. And, you know, match point is that place in tennis where one more point and someone could win. So that to me is Hank Brennan really coming in like checkmate. It's like strategic game playing. And he's here to say, I got you. Something that came through for me about him, Hank Brennan, the prosecutor, was he wanted to be where he was. Now, I don't know. I just know he's a special prosecutor. He was hired specifically to come in and do this case because the state wanted to bring in the big guns. But what I felt was this kind of very clear sense that he might have been watching the trial, watching prosecutor Lally and saying like, oh, I can't believe you're doing that. God, that's not strong. Oh, he's like, yeah. Oh, if that were me, it would be different. Or when the mistrial happened, he might have even been like, I'd like to speak with someone. I'd like to work on that. I can win that for you. I don't know if that is true or if we would ever know if that is true. But it felt like he really wants to be there. Like he could have put himself in that place. Like almost like something within him. Like, okay, now the word vendetta is coming up, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, vendetta against Karen Reed. It feels more like, okay, this is what it's feeling like. We've got Alan Jackson, this guy from California, big flashy attorney from Hollywood, and he thinks he's going to come in here and turn this into a circus and I'll show him kind of thing. And just so you know, I'm very neutral on this case. I think it's fascinating. I listened to analytics. So I watched the first trial. I watched the motions hearing last week, this with all the drama. And I watched Defense Diaries with Bob Motta and Ian Runkle from Runkle of the Bailey. Peter Tragos from Lawyer You Know did a whole analytics. These are reasonable people who are lawyers, And just to put it out there, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just fascinated and a trial watcher like all of you. And I'm fascinated by this case. But there seems to be this, like a lot of people's personal stuff that almost has nothing to do with Karen Reed is somehow getting played out, like people's feelings about outsiders. So like Hank Brennan kind of feeling like this outsider coming in and taking things over. Or I know with Karen Reed, it was like she was the outsider. She wasn't from that town. They kind of felt like she was this outsider coming in. They wanted I think John O'Keefe to be with someone else. The relationship wasn't going well. It looked like they might be breaking up, and it could be they didn't like him with her. So there's this thing around, we don't like outsiders and we're going to show them. I was raised in New England. I'm from New York, and I moved there when I was 9. And so I'm very familiar with the New England mentality a little bit. And I loved growing up in New England, and I loved growing up in Maine. But New Englanders can have this sense of, oh, you're not from New England. Maine was definitely like that. And I felt Massachusetts had a kind of air of, so we have that with the 2 lawyers, Brennan and Alan Jackson. I was seeing these pages. I was seeing a reversed page of Pentacles and an upright page of Swords. And Alan Jackson was this reversed page of Pentacles, and Hank Brennan was this upright page of Swords. And notice they're both pages. So, this indicates to me that they're both having to come at this completely brand new trial. Yes, we have the wisdom and the knowledge of the old trial, and we know where we need to improve or where the holes might be, but there's the sense of match point, game on. This is anybody's game. Don't you think this could be your game? And that hearing where all the stuff with the car reconstruction, the ARCA stuff, was really meant to be very much a disruption and knock the defense team kind of off their rocker, to make them feel unstable. Like it's like playing a game of poker. You put down this and I see this. Very much, I keep getting this through line of game playing. And these 2 pages, I mean, they're younger. They feel like kids. This feels like people bullying each other on the playground. Like the new kid on the block coming in and saying, yeah, you think I'm coming in. This is my territory now. Because this is a page of Swords, and the Swords is the mind, it's thought, analytics. But I also associate it with people that can speak very well. And the King of Swords can often be an attorney. So this is Hank Brennan coming in and being very verbal, showing off his oratory skills, saying to Alan Jackson, yeah, you're slick, you can talk, but like, I can talk too. Like that kind of thing. And I'm also picking up that this really, it was meant to disrupt more than anything else. Like, regardless of what happens, what the outcome is, it really was to show them we're coming in full force. We want to make you feel unstable. And I think that there was a feeling of instability that day in court over on the defense. They weren't quite expecting that, obviously. Now, with the judge, it was just so interesting because she was so viscerally affected when she came back into court. She is a very stable judge, very in control. So to see her so shaken up was very interesting. I was standing in the back of my office and I was listening to what was going on in the background, and I very astutely noticed the sound of her voice. I was like, what is going on over there? I was trying to feel into the corner, into the crack of what happened when she left the court and when she came back. Because when she left, she wasn't as emotionally affected. She was clearly very anxious. What the visual I got, I mean, I was hearing somebody else was there, somebody was in the back, somebody was in the back. And what came out was the 3 of Cups in reverse. So that validated my sense that when someone said something to her, like she went back to her chambers and someone said something to her that affected her. She may not have liked what was being said and everything that Hank Brennan was saying about the defense and did they pay them. But when she came back, there was something completely different. I feel like someone said something to her. Someone potentially could have been trying to persuade her, or maybe somebody suggested that she stop the trial, that she didn't give the defense even a moment to say something. How was the defense feeling in that moment when the trial was completely stopped? Let's just look at that. Emperor in reverse can complete loss of control. Also anger, knocked down, which was the point, right? To be knocked off their rocker, to feel disrupted. Now, what's interesting is that this court date, where they're all going to reconvene, is coming up on this Thursday, March 27th, and that is an eclipse day. That is a new moon eclipse in Pisces. So really very interesting, very intense energies. Now, Mercury sextiling Uranus that day. So Uranus, shock, surprise, revelation, breakthroughs. With Mercury sextiling Uranus, there could be this sense of connecting the dots. And it could be that both sides are going to present, how they've connected the dots to prove their side is right. New moon in Pisces, can also be very inspired, and there can be some good news. Jupiter is also squared Gemini. I have in my notes here on that day within that new moon eclipse. And of course, Gemini is very clever. It's very witty. It can be very shrewd. So I think we're going to see a lot of shrewd moves happening on both sides. There's going to be this attempt on the defense side to be like, okay, match point, we're going for the point. Let me just get a card on the shrewd moves, and one card for Hank Brennan and one for Alan Jackson, because I'm curious. There's definitely good news, but what are the consequences of the good news? So we have a King of Cups. This is so interesting on the Hank Brennan prosecution side. We have the King of Cups in reverse. And I just showed you at the beginning, it was the Page of Cups reverse. So it was the younger version, like, here I am. It's almost like a new trial starting fresh, get ready. And now it's the King of Cups. It's bringing all he's got. With the King of Cups in reverse, the defense might reveal something that he responds emotionally to, or he gets emotional about, but with the King of Cups, you'd never quite know. Like something might disturb him or might disturb what he's presenting, but he'll never show it. And on the other side, we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse for Alan Jackson. So this is really interesting because I had them as pages, and the prosecutor goes from the Page of Swords and he jumps all the way to the King of Cups. So it's almost like he's jumping. He's like collapsing levels, so to speak. He's probably feeling really good about what he's going into on Thursday. and not pacing himself. And that causes some sort of emotional disruption that we might not even ever see, because with the King of Cups in reverse, he'll hold his cards close to his chest. But with Alan Jackson, was this Page of Pentacles in reverse. He felt unstable. There was a disruption. It was almost like, okay, you know what? They got us for today. This is ridiculous. And now he's pacing himself. Like he's coming in as the knight. He's not, it's like he's not coming in with his trial face for like that. He's going to come in for the actual trial. Brennan's kind of like, it's almost like every motions hearing, every little hearing is like, he's going to the big trial. Whereas Alan Jackson is more like this slow and steady, wins the race. We're gonna like pace it energy to me, kind of like up like this, because he's not coming in. He's like coming in very stable, and he's got like one or two or some very specific things that he wants to say, and there's tangible evidence to back him up because he's holding a pentacle, which is a tangible thing that you can see, taste, touch, smell. So whatever he's presenting, he can prove it. So I just want to ask, what was up with the ARCA people, with these car reconstruction people? Because everyone's concerned that Alan Jackson is going to be tossed off the case because he is graciously being allowed to practice in Massachusetts with his co-counsel, Mr. Yannetti, as things work there that way. So first I'm gonna ask what was up with ARCA, then I'm gonna ask, will they lose Yannetti? I still come back to this, like, it was more important to the prosecution to disrupt than to necessarily have an event happen because of it. I mean, obviously, the state would love Alan Jackson off the case because he's a super strong lawyer. He knows the case really well. He's doing it pro bono. What I'm feeling is, you know, people kind of thought, well, maybe the second time around, her defense won't be as strong because how can she keep affording these things? And Alan Jackson is sticking with her. Might be interesting to look into their relationship as well. Maybe we can do that at the end. So that's really what I feel. It was more about making a splash and coming out like, wanting to come out like the king, but being presented as a page instead on the prosecution side. It was more about being dramatic. And it's interesting because I know something that Hank Brennan said was, enough with the circus, enough with the dramatics, we're done with the show. But then he did that. It's like he couldn't help himself. And it goes back to my feeling of he wanted to be there. I mean, he might have even have been talking to people and said, hey, if this thing, if this is a hung jury, if this is a mistrial, because it was going so many days, like, I want in on this. If any of you know or could find out or get down into the nitty-gritty of some of these things, let me know. But okay, ARCA. So what's up with them? King of Wands. Judgment in reverse. Judgment in reverse. King of Wands. Six of Wands. What's this Judgment in reverse? The Queen of Swords. This feels like something that a couple of people were trying to, look victorious. They were trying to kind of rip up the trial. They were trying to not, a lack of justice. They're trying like, okay, here with this judgment, like a second chance. There are some people, a King of Wands and a Queen of Swords, that don't want this trial to have a real second chance. They don't want rectification. They want to feel victorious. It's almost like they don't want to have the trial. I have clarity on this King of Wands and one on the Queen of Swords. Yeah, the World, the King of Wands, it's like with the Five of Swords, it's somebody, being very tricky and someone trying to steal a sense of justice, because it's not even about whether she did it or not. It's just about proving themselves right. This queen does not feel to me like the judge, because when I saw that, I felt into it. This feels like outside influence. These cards also represent to me, okay, oh, I see, okay, Queen of Swords, King of Wands, Six of Wands, Karen Reed, Queen of Wands, Alan Jackson, King of Wands, Queen of Swords, Alan Jackson, King of Wands, Six of Wands. Having nothing to hide, victory after a battle. They know that they're going into battle. And, what's coming to me too is, this is the victory after a battle, feeling like somebody is trying to stop a real second chance. They don't want fairness. There's a sense of, with the World in reverse, this is not over yet, but someone trying to, be a disruptor and take away with the swords, which can be words, which can be thoughts. Thoughts can be analytics. It can be defense plans. It's like somebody trying to find out secrets of the defense. But this too could also be defense trying to figure out what's the new angle going to be here with this prosecution. Because it's almost like prosecution wants to go in knowing that they've got it. It's just going through the motions. Almost just to prove at this point, it's almost like a saving face situation. And the fact that a California lawyer got brought in, and Karen Reed is a Queen of Swords. She's sharp. She's very smart. She's very clear. She's all about her truth. Whether you believe her truth or not, you're coming here to this reading. I don't know what side you're on. She's very forward about saying, this is my truth. Very ambitious. It feels to me like, how dare she be so, the kind of woman that she is. Ambitious, into her 40s, still single, no children, successful career. Yes, would love in her life. That's why she was dating all of these people. You know what I mean? It's like, she kissed Higgins. She obviously loved partnership, but she's also a very Queen of Swords, very sovereign person. I feel like she's coming in very well matched with Alan Jackson. It's so interesting because I said their relationship could be interesting to look into, and I think that they're a very good pair. I'm not so much into watching all the little rumors, but I did see the one photo of Alan Jackson with his arms around Karen Reed's waist, and of course he's a married man, and who knows what that moment was. I'm not here to, we could ask that question. Do you want me to ask that question? But it feels like regardless, they have a very strong relationship. Yeah, I don't want to go into their potential sex life or not at the moment. I don't think that's important. But you can leave any other questions below, and if they're reasonable, I can look at that as well. All right, so let's just take a little peek at, will he be asked to step down? Is this like, this is how we're gonna get rid of him, and then the whole defense will be completely disrupted because he's spearheading the whole thing, and then they'll be so disrupted that they'll lose. And I would like to say that I did hear a couple attorneys. I know that Ian Runkle of Runkle Bailey, as well as Peter Tragos, both said that huge appellate issues if they ask him to leave, because she has a right to the counsel of her choice, and that could be a thing. So we have the Six of Cups in reverse, and the King of Swords in reverse. So we had our prosecutor coming up as the Page of Swords in the very beginning. So now we have the King of Swords reversed, and then we had Hank Brennan also coming up as this King of Cups in reverse. So something will make him feel emotional, but we'll never see it. He could get really direct and like really go for the jugular on Thursday. Again, it's connecting the dots. Like he wants to disrupt. He wants to surprise. It's like he's bringing in the Uranus, right? He wants to shock and surprise, and he wants to connect the dots in a very specific and analytical way. Could be a little bit mean about it. Could be a little bit, I want to say uppity. I want to say entitled about it. Six of Cups in reverse. So to me, this is leaving the past behind. So this really is about letting go of everything that happened before with this case. But this is also the emotional aspect of having to go through this trial again, and how all of these dramatics, how it really is emotionally affecting so many people. So I'm feeling with those reversed kings, this reverse, that potentially Mr. Jackson stays on the case. I am recording this on Sunday, the 23rd. So we've got like 4 or 5 days. So you can tell me whether I was right or wrong. You can call me out on it. Page of Wands. So King of Wands, Page of Wands, Alan Jackson coming up as King of Wands previously in the reading. Now Page of Wands, Ten of Pentacles, legacy in reverse, also karma. So there could be something within the logistics, within the analytics, within the red tape, within, going after something. I know that something many lawyers talked about, something that Court TV brought up, and Vinnie Politan, and if you're watching all this stuff, you know all those people. Were they paying for their airfare, their hotel, their food, $2,300 seems like a lot, but they would have to pay for every single thing, plus paying for them their time and on the stand. So I guess I could definitely see it coming at $2,300, but there might be some kind of very particular, very specific legal thing, like connecting the dots, like where there might be some kind of like, he may feel knocked down for that day. He may feel knocked down for that day. Because things often happen in trials, and it doesn't necessarily mean that any of the lawyers were doing something completely unjust. I mean, things do come up that don't have to affect whole trials and get people kicked off. But it feels like going for something very specific and very minute. With the Page of Wands also, he might feel like a little bit like, because the Page could also be very inspired and very fiery. So you may see a very fiery, so he's not so much coming in as the King, he's coming in as he might have a very specific idea or a very specific thing that he's going to be speaking about or presenting, that he's extremely passionate about what he has to say about this thing on that trial date. He's going to also find a new way of going about dealing with the new prosecution. We might see him begin to present differently or go about things in a completely different way. I think it's about combining the wisdom of the King with the inspiration and okay, this is all new. I've got someone new. I do have my wisdom with me. I know this case, but I've also got to come from it as if I know nothing at the same time as well. So we might see that kind of energy. And I had the Two of Swords and the Page of Cups in reverse. So, Two of Swords. Yeah, Two of Pentacles. I almost feel like they're not going to come to a complete answer to everything on this day. I don't think he's going to get kicked off the case on Thursday, but I think that it will be very, very emotional, and that we're not going to have all the answers that we want on that day. But Wheel of Fortune, there is going to be, let me see, the Tower in reverse. So, okay, I think that the defense is going to avoid a tower, and that this is going to complete in some kind of way. Alan Jackson will stay on the case, but there are also going to be other unanswered questions, and this also feels like Lady Justice is blind. People are going to feel very unbalanced after Thursday. There's going to be a number of options that people have to choose from. There could be something that the defense has to change, or something about how Alan Jackson has to do things, or what they have to give to the court or give to the prosecution, so he's going to stay on, but there are going to be a lot of new perspectives with the Hanged Man. But with the Hanged Man, the Two of Swords and the Two of Pentacles, there's still going to be, we're not going to know everything on that day. But I think it's going to be like with the Wheel of Fortune, there's going to be like, the whole thing is not going to come crashing down. They're not going to lose Jackson. And I will come back and I will do another reading on this regardless of what really happened. So we'll see. This is for entertainment purposes only. So I hope you had fun with me. I'm Kristen. I've never done true crime before. I love true crime. I'm obsessed with trials. I'm a courtie. It's a passion of mine, and I thought it would be fun to explore this kind of reading with you. I'm a small channel, so if you're new here and you came for this, I would love to do more of it. But thank you for stumbling through this with me, because I've never done this kind of reading before, but I'm interested. And please let me know about other kinds of cases. Would you want me to continue with Karen Reed, Donald Adelson, Mickey Steins? We all know the big ones. We know what's coming up, but you can ask me to go through anything, and I would love to keep exploring this kind of reading with you. I usually do personal growth, self-awareness, things around the relational field, love and relationships, career path, and tons of that stuff is also going to be coming out every single day next week. But thank you for being here. Let's see what happens. I can't wait.